Well, joining me now is Mayita Melendez. She's the mayor of the Puerto Rican city of Ponce. In San Juan is Jorge Rodriguez. He's the CEO of the engineering firm PACIV. And finally, in Philadelphia is William Gonzalez. He's the executive director of Ceiba, a coalition of Latino community organizations. Thank you all for joining us. Mayita Melendez, if I can begin with you, ma'am. When you first heard President Donald Trump question the death toll, how did you feel?
I have to tell you that we appreciate what has been done by the federal government. But we reiterate our demand for equal treatment during this reconstruction period. We also call for the president to treat this issue with the sensibility, the respect that we need, and the seriousness that the American citizens for Puerto Rico deserve. Some of his comments may be, I will say, have been misguided and frankly unacceptable. And moving forward, we expect from the president to focus on what is real important, the needing of the people, the aspiration of the people to be resilient.
Jorge Rodriguez, has there been disrespect and unequal treatment from the federal government and the president himself?
I will, I will categorize it not as disrespect, maybe some lack of understanding. But I will say yes to the answer if you had said the local government, because the first one to say that we had 16 deaths and to press on it for more than 5, 6, 7 months until the press called on him was our local governor. So, federal government is here to assist, not to lead, and enable local government's lack of capabilities in disasters like these. And when you have a local government that doesn't have the competencies, the systems, the process to be able to enable that assistance, you have to go to the root cause of the issue, which relies 100% on our local government. We have a bankruptcy of almost $120 billion, and that's not caused by the federal government. That's caused by our own government.
Mayita, okay, Mayor Mayita Melendez.
Yes.
The lack of capability and competence from the local government, that's where Jorge sees the true blame lying. Your response to that?
No. I will say there are certain things that we were not prepared. We were not prepared for a disaster like this. That's the truth. I'm sorry, that's the truth. But the first responder were the mayors. We didn't have communications. We didn't have open roads. The roads were closed. So it was a completely disaster. This is, since FEMA has told us, this is the first big disaster in the whole American nation. So if we were not prepared to that kind of disaster, there will be some misleading of doing things. But we, the mayors, take care of the people as soon as we get there. Now, just right now, I have in my community, in Ponce, a group of churches, a group of parts of the community, more than 654 people that are being training in different kinds of response to a disaster. In KP4, that's a way of communication, by radio, also in doing information and doing the first response things for the people in each community. I have 300 communities, but I would not say it's the fault of the local government. The local government did what they can at that time.
Okay, hold on for a second, Jorge.
Yes.
Jorge, hold on for a second. I'm going to give you a chance to respond, but I want to bring in William Gonzalez before I do that. So, William, 1 year on, tremendously violent storm, a lot of destruction, a lot of death, and it's quite likely, based on the best available evidence, that it's closer to the 3,000 number than the number the president insists on. As the blame game ensues, who is closer to the truth, William?
I mean, it's obvious. The data is clear, and fortunately, the U.S. government is bigger than the president. And this data hopefully will be used to prepare for the next disasters that are about to come we start in terms of data as to climate change, which for political reasons, some people say is a hoax. But, there are elements, luckily, in Congress and the federal government that are serious about this and look into this. Could FEMA have been better prepared? Yes. Could the infrastructure of Puerto Rico be better prepared? Yes. I mean, there's a long standing challenges that continue to this day and that were there before Maria. We just hope that the data, all that we learned from Maria is applied for future policies. And also we hope that Congress kind of take a deep dive into this. So we believe that there should be kind of some hearings, especially about Puerto Rico, and look at ways for Puerto Rico to recover, not only from the storm, but economically with things like the Jones Act, which limits shipping to the island.
Right. Jorge, you want to address Mayor Mayita Melendez directly. Go ahead.
We are an engineering firm with about 60 engineers. By the weekend, we were up and running. By Monday, we had power, satellite phones, Wi-Fi, cell phone signal. We are just servicing the pharmaceuticals in Puerto Rico. We're not engaging on addressing the needs of our society, on our residents. So the question is, why does any mayor, no mayor, because we gave them satellite phones, why no mayor had satellite phones, knowing that they're going to face a disaster? And like that, why they didn't have many other of the basics that we in the private sector have it immediately? I don't need a category 4 to know that I'm in the hurricane alley. And when the hurricane comes, I'm going to need all that to serve clients. I'm not talking even to serve civilians.
Okay, so Mayor Melendez, does the man make a point? You were unprepared. That's a fact, right?
No. Let me tell you this. We have the satellite phone. I have satellite phone for 4 years. For 4 years. Every mayor have a satellite phone. But satellite phone didn't function because there was raining. There was winds blowing. We didn't have communication. If I have to use a satellite phone, I have to go out. And the person I was calling through have to be out also. The satellite phones were not functioning. That's one of the things. The other thing, I know that we have been, without the federal government, without the people from the state, without the people from communities, the churches, without the people from the private sector, we cannot do it alone. Right. That's the truth.
Okay.
That's the truth.
That's interesting.
We need help.
Okay, so Jorge.
And thanks God, they appeared.
Right. Jorge, let me ask you a little bit about tone, right? I'm going to step back for a second now. And you make legitimate points, and I think there's a long timeline of many issues that the local government could have been better at, and it probably isn't the the best run place on the planet, right? Granted. But talking about tone, talking about the fact that the president seems to treat Puerto Rico with contempt, both at the time and even now 1 year on, the denial of the death toll, right? The way he talks about it, it's all about him being right and vindicated. Surely you must agree that that's hardly the most encouraging thing, not only for the people of Puerto Rico who had to go through this terrible storm and its aftermath, but for the country as a whole as well. You would accept that it's wrong for the president to treat Puerto Rico with such contempt. Do you accept that?
100%. Let me make it clear, first of all, Ms. Mayor, you had satellite phones 3 weeks after because my foundation, PACIV Foundation, donated the satellite phones to the mayor. But besides that, going back to the question, I totally agree. I lived in the States for many years. I work in the States. I have offices in the States. It is true that we are based from a Latin culture. We are a territory, and we are seen different as U.S. citizens by continental U.S. in many ways. Sometimes they don't know we use the dollar. Sometimes they don't know that we're U.S. citizens. Sometimes they don't know that we go to war. Of course, there is misunderstandings today about us as Puerto Ricans being U.S. citizens. And certainly Trump would have handled this much more and face it, with definitely more candor and more empathy, But that happens not only with him, it happens with many people from continental U.S., which I'm not going to justify. It's probably reasonable to know that we are, an island away from them. We have a different culture. and we have not done on both sides a good effort or intimating with one another.
Okay, Mayita Melendez, even though Trump disrespected you, and even though you don't feel as if they gave their maximum political support, did FEMA do the best job that it could do? Because those people are not the president. Those people weren't making any statements. They were trying to help. Did they do the best job that they could have?
But for example, the first 3 weeks, we the mayors, for example, in Ponce, we the mayors, and I as the mayor, I get all my staff and my people in my municipality in charge of everything in Ponce for the first 3 weeks. When they appear, Alejandro de la Campa called me, and I asked them, roads, we are open already the road. We have then going to the rural area. We have 18 wards in the rural area, 13 in the urban area. I cannot go through the rural area yet because there were no roads open. So when they came, they began to work with us. The thing is that the disbursements of the money have gone very slowly. And for example, up to now, I have submitted to FEMA all the audits, every information they asked for, every real federal information. We have worked since many years. We have worked since 1985 with federal funds, more than $500 million here. And I submit everything. Up to now, those 6.6 million I have submitted to FEMA, they have only sent me 3.1 million. That's one of the things. The second thing is that I have to say to Jorge that I have to be grateful to all the private sector. They gave me phones, yes, but I get until 5 satellite phones, 5, and they didn't function.
I see. They
didn't function. Even the dean of the School of Medicine sent it to me also. FEMA respond 3 weeks later. The Army respond, the Army Corps of Engineers, everyone. But up to now, they change people every 3 months.
Right.
Then the versions of the Storm 4 Act change. They at the same time, I had an excellent relation to the people of FEMA. La batería.
Go ahead. We can see it, yes.
Okay. I had an excellent relation with the people of FEMA, my branch here in Ponce. We have an excellent relation. We meet every 2 weeks. We had meetings, but I have told them that the reimbursement of the money is going slow. Let me tell you one thing to Jorge. Jorge, we don't have representation in Congress. When I went to see Congressman, I went to see Natural Legal City. I talked in the Natural Legal City. I talked to the U.S. Mayor. I have talked to Elaine Duke. I have talked to Pamela Hughes-Patenaude. I have been with Neil Ratcliffe from CDPG there, but things are going slowly. And I know because we are in a group of mayors that are from other opposition political party. And we have met together with mayor from the state. And we have made an excellent connection with them. And they have told us in many ways that it will be long period of reconstruction. For example, in New Orleans.
Right.
New Orleans, they have told us they have been 13 years and we don't net. But we are not, we are a territory. You said it. We don't have representation in Congress. We have a strong voice. Jennifer Gonzalez is doing an excellent job. But Elizabeth Warren told me, you have to come here because at the beginning, only 10% of the people from Congress knew that we were American citizens.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Now, after
okay. That's an interesting point. And you say Elizabeth Warren herself told you that. William Gonzalez, is that at the heart of it all? Because we know that Reconstruction was hard even in places like New Orleans after Katrina. But those places are seen as, they're part of the mainland. They're not territories. They're seen by some Americans as being... Yeah, they're seen as fully American because they have the representation. Has it been a hindrance, William, that Puerto Rico doesn't have that representation, and perhaps that's why it wasn't treated as a top priority by the federal government? Is that true?
Yes, not only that, but you're competing against two powerful states that have large representation in Congress. Remember that Harvey struck Texas and that Irma struck Florida. So yes, when you're competing for resources, for disasters that occurred in the same almost time of the year, And then when you add to that additional resources that are needed to address the fires in California, another large congressional delegation, you have some huge challenges. In terms of also the awareness of the electorate of the United States, our colleague mentioning how a lot of people don't know that the Puerto Ricans are part of the United States. If you listed the contributions of U.S. Of veterans in U.S. Military, and you listed people from Puerto Rico, they would come among the top 15 if you included the 50 states. So the contributions of Puerto Rico to the benefit of the United States are huge. And I'm just talking about, in terms of blood and service. But if you also look economically, that's you can add up the numbers. Instead, Puerto Rico is portrayed as a drain and as a problem and as a foreign entity. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And that's why I think it's important that Congress take a look at the Maria problem and see and learn from it, because sadly, Puerto Rico will have more storms. And if it's not Puerto Rico, we're talking about Puerto Rico, but another territory, the U.S. Virgin Islands, suffered a hurricane before Maria, Irma. So I think these are important things that the United States, if it want to look at its totality, needs to address.
Yeah. So, Jorge, with all the political odds stacked against the territory, don't you think that you need to cut the local government some slack because they did the best that they could have given the circumstances?
No way. Let me put my engineer hat out. In any process, you measure yield efficiency. In Puerto Rico, when you put 100, you get out 10 or 12. There is corruption, there is inefficiencies, and there is lack of 21st century processes. We still get our licenses, we still get electricity, services from government. We have to go physically. Nothing is done online, and billions of dollars have been given for that. So you got to take a step back and say, for 35 years, we have not implemented systems, processes, and structures to give you efficiency. Now, that draws bankruptcy, right? 120 billion. All of a sudden, we get a hurricane. FEMA comes in, federal government comes in, and they're understanding that we have systems and processes where if I put, instead of 100, I put 1,000, I'm going to get, instead of 90, I get 950. Guess what? If you put 1,000 in a bad system, inefficient, you're going to clog it. And that's exactly what happened. Our systems and processes are not up to date. So you cannot just come in and put more into it to get more out. It gets clogged. And the clogging, the inefficiencies have been done by 30 to 35 years of corruption and inefficiency at our local government level. I have to address that issue, which I control, before I can address issues of how efficient they were at the federal level.
Mayita Melendez, even though you had the political odds stacked against you, even though the president said terrible things about you, even though you didn't get all the help that you wanted, is it a fair argument that you have to put your own house in order first?
But let me tell you this. This is a process. Corruption is in all of the world. Corruption is not only in Puerto Rico, one of the things. And it is not the death is not because of corruption. The death is because the administrators of Puerto Rico, the governors that were in Puerto Rico, mislead many other things. And they have been explained. We have been imposed a board, a financial management oversight board, imposed by Congress, because we are a territory. We are a territory. It was not the same thing in Detroit. It was not the same thing in New York. It's different thing. There is corruption also in Detroit. There was corruption in New York also. There are many things that have to be put in line, and the governor of Puerto Rico is trying to do it. I have been a dentist for 31 years. I came from the private sector. Now I have been a mayor for 9 years up to now, and I took a municipality with a debt of $45 million of deficit, and I have almost 32 people, 32% of my 100% people. I have 1,400 people in full-time job. The others 500 are in part-time. If I haven't taken measures, I would be closed 9 years ago. But I took measures. I doing things in the right way. I work for the service of the people. That's what we are elected for. for serving the people, main services for the people. And we in Puerto Rico are trying to do. If there are people that do corruptions, they will be in jail. Right. And they will have to be there. But not everyone do it. I have to tell you this. Churches did a great job. Private sector, like Jorge knows, had an excellent job. FEMA and federal government and Congress, we have to be thankful. I know what the president knows. He's a powerful, rich man. But the sensibility in a way of talking about the death of the people, come here and see what was happening here. I cried many times. The first 133rd day, I slept only 3 hours a day because we were out in the street with my people. My daughter, who is a granddaughter of 7 years old, she went with me, giving water, giving food, everything. So corruption is another thing, but misleading in administrative way of doing financial areas. And let me tell you this, is another thing. Okay. But the way you work in the private sector is not the same. I do know the law on the government is different. The financial and the area that have to be with accountability. Okay, and people are still grappling with this because people see the corruption as one of the root causes for why it could have been better in the aftermath and less people could have died and there could have been less devastation. This is a debate that will continue to rage 1 year on. The impact of the storm still continues. Thousands are displaced and we wish them all the best, and we wish the local government can do a great job at repatriating them and getting them back to their homes. But for the moment, I've got to move on. So Mayita, Melendez, Jorge Rodriguez, and William Gonzalez, I thank you very much for joining us here on the Newsmakers. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of you.